Good morning, warriors. Hope everyone's doing well this morning. Welcome to Morning Retention Talk. Hope you guys are doing well. This is for January 10th, 2022. And I first have to kind of apologize to my friends. This will be the last one that I will do in the car. I think that, I realize that this is not the best way to do these things, but I get caught up in doing a lot of things and moving around, and this morning I haven't had a chance to really kind of sit down and do one, and so we're doing it this way. And so I will now probably from now on, since I have the luxury, I call it, of being woken up at 5:30 in the morning by my Great Pyrenees dog who needs to go out for a walk, that I'll probably end up just doing it right after that so that we get it out of the way in the morning so that I can post something that you guys can have to kind of look at in the mornings. So we're also going to go ahead for coming attractions, trying to finish up our 10 Commandments, those talks. The morning talks have been pretty successful, so it looks like you guys are interested in those. Not so much 10 Commandments, and I understand that, but I also kind of want to make a connection with any type of rules and things that we deal with within our faith that really kind of connect with retention. And this next one I think we're going to do is thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and certainly that is a big one when it comes to retention and lust and those type of things. So but we're going to continue those and finish those, and I have a few books that we want to cover and a few people that we want to try to cover. There's a YouTuber in France that had been recommended to me. I'm going to take a look. I think at first I had trouble finding the person, but I think I might be able to now with the new information that I got, or more information. I think I forgot where the information was. I lost it or something like that. So I apologize for that. Didn't get back to that right away. And so I'm going to try to get that done over the next week or so as well, and continue with these morning talks, and also try to do a live stream as well. So over the weekend, a couple ideas we have for this one today. Over the weekend, I was able to sit down and watch a few American football games, and so it was interesting to me to kind of see, on television and internet and those type of things, how people really are and how they behave about things that they feel are important in life. And so when we look at this type of stuff, I see a lot of interesting types of behaviors from people, and I think some of it's obviously motivated by greed and money and all those type of things, but it does have an impact. If you see these messages over and over and over again, it does have an impact on you, and this is where I believe temptation really starts. And a lot of times it was subverted in many ways, but it's something that comes up to the surface when people actually, watch these things over and over and over again. And so when I look at, watching of American football, I'm looking at the violence, I'm looking at the sex on the sidelines with the cheerleaders, and I'm looking at the commercials always selling something that you somehow lack and trying to motivate you with political types of messages or things you want and need. And these type of things all becomes things that we need to kind of focus on and look at when it comes to really being the best person you can be. And so you have to kind of make sure you avoid a lot of these type of temptations. But as I said, it's not easy to do that. Now, I've known people who would say, let's take off of television for a month. I think that's an excellent idea. Take off of the internet for a few days, or your phone. Those things are always excellent ideas to get away. Even your phone. Now, I don't use the phone, nearly as much as most of the people that I know. Only because I've come from a different generation, and there wasn't a lot of the types of phones used, back, most of my life. It's only been over the last, number of years, 20 years or so, that we've had more phones like this. So even internet is something that I didn't really experience until I was, in my 30s. So the thing is that we focus a lot on temptation. And the key is, as it is with any kind of religion, and the whole idea of the Ten Commandments is part of this as well, is the whole idea of self-control. when we look at self-control, this is the key. This is why we talk about it. So it doesn't matter what religion you're in. We all have different philosophies, ideas, mores, laws that we have to follow, and they all kind of come around the idea of mastering yourself, being able to be strong yourself, no matter what's happening to you on the outside, being strong on the inside, and recognizing I don't have to do this just because someone else is doing this, or just because the world thinks this is the way we should behave. Do you have to behave this way? And I think a lot of times through peer pressure when we're younger, we fall into these patterns and then we find we can't get out of these patterns as we get older, or we don't want to get out of the patterns. It becomes so comfortable to us building a habit that we don't change who we are. And we don't go ahead and say, I know this is wrong, but I'm going to keep doing it. A lot of examples of people who smoke, and they just can't stop no matter if they have cancer or not. They want to continue getting those puffs because they're so addicted to it. The same thing with pornography, the same thing with sex, the same thing with drugs. All these types of addictions are things that are not good for you. And of course, losing energy is the biggest one of all, because now you're hurting yourself, and by watching this stuff, now you're sitting there hurting your brain and your physical nature. And so as we look at trying to be the best person we become, the biggest question will be, can I control myself? Can I stop myself from doing these type of behaviors? And I think this is the type of key question that we should all kind of ask ourselves. Do I have the ability in any given situation to be able to say, no, I don't want to do this? And this is something that we think is easy. Oh yeah, of course, no. When it comes to easy things like, well, I'd rather have Coke or Pepsi. I don't drink pop anymore, but I used to drink a lot of pop. Pepsi or Coke, right? Or McDonald's or Burger King. And I don't do a lot of that either anymore. But those are the types of things that we look at and say, okay, those are easy decisions. The tougher decisions come when you're really talking about, well, should I go, this person is flirting with me, should I have intercourse with them? Should I have sex with them? Or should I go and watch this movie a lot of people are watching and has a lot of sex and violence in there? Well, if you do that, you recognize the temptation, you're there. And I think a lot of us recognize those things. But the reason you can't stop yourself is because you're more influenced by the things around you than you think you are. By people, all these type of things that are around you. And those are the types of things that make a big difference when it comes to trying to stop this behavior, being on retention, and trying to become a better person. And so when we look at trying to look at all this, I know this is a lot with the professional football games over the weekend, American football games, that we look at. And you look at the violence, you look at the sex, you look at all the things that are going on in the game, and all the high priced and the types of things, and it's all focused around the idea of money, sex, violence, all these type of things. And we look at the grand scheme of things, it's no wonder that our country falls into these patterns as well. People are influenced more by money. And of course, you need a certain amount of money to live. There's no doubt about that. But God will always provide. And so for people to be greedy goes back to that one quote in the Bible talking about it's the love of money. It's not money itself. It's the love of money that draws people in. And so through that, then, when you have money, and this is always something I've noticed as well, people have money, they get into a lot of these other types of behaviors. And a lot of it's because they've lost control. They've lost control from a money standpoint, and because they've lost control from a money standpoint, now they fall victim of other things. Since they can buy things, and let's face it, guys, there's only so much that you need. A lot of times people have so much money, especially a lot of these athletes, they can buy lots of things, and after a while the money is no big deal. You can tip a person $1,000, $10,000 when you have that kind of money. So what ends up happening then? Well, in this way, I think Satan uses this love of money. And once people start making a lot of money, it's very difficult for them to all of a sudden go dry. They have to continue finding ways, legal or otherwise, to be able to do this type of thing. They got to keep to the level standards. And this is why I say they box themselves in their own corner, because they've gotten to the point where they've made so much money that now it's like a cage on top of them. And they have to do things to keep making that kind of money, or else they're not going to have that lifestyle that they want to have. And a lot of times it goes back to status. It goes back to showing that they're better than the neighbors or other people around them or other people in their peer groups. And, no one really cares, to be honest with you. But people don't recognize that. They feel people care. And so they're going to show. And branding is something that obviously is important on social media. So people see that. And they recognize the fact that, okay, it's the image that counts. And so whether you're using credit cards, whether you have the money or not, you can always portray yourself as having a great image. And so people recognize you differently or look at you differently. And that's a whole nother type of topic we can probably talk about. But the idea, guys, is that temptation is all around us. We're living in a fast-paced world, and people want to continue making the money, status, and those things. But in the long run, what does this all mean? Well, it doesn't mean too much. And people find this out as they get older. I know a lot of people who have money who, end up not being happy at all. In fact, because they're in a cage, they're miserable because they still have to keep making this kind of money, but they're not happy doing it. And most people are not happy with their jobs anyway. And so what ends up happening is that they become really depressed, and they're on drugs or they're on medications and things like this because they're really not happy with what's happening. And so, interesting enough, the suicide rate, my friends, are higher on the people who are wealthy than they are people who are not wealthy. People who are not wealthy are trying to make it day by day, and the people who are rich, they're the ones who can't deal with any sort of setback because it kind of influences the imbalance that they have and creates an imbalance in their life that they can't deal with anymore because they've been so used to having things a certain way. And I believe things are cycles. There's times when you're on top, and I've been there. There's times you're on the bottom, and I've been there too. And I think that when you see that, you recognize that, okay, this is great, but this is not also going to last forever. And there's going to be times where I'm going to have some setbacks, and am I used to that? I always remember the story that I think it was England during, I don't think it was the medieval days, but probably it was somewhere, 1700s, that they had princes, the people they knew that were going to be princes, in generations as young boys, like 10, 13 years old, they put them in the middle of the lake and by themselves in a rowboat and have them try to get back. Because they knew that this person, because when they became king, was going to have a lot of people, get upset with them, berate them, have a lot of attitudes with them. And so they had to be tough. And I think we don't have enough tough people in our world anymore. A lot of it is I call the wussy behavior. And a lot of it goes back down to lack of self-control and losing control, not mastering yourself, and be able to kind of be sucked up by anything. And I think once you're able to control yourself, and this goes back to the retention again, when you're able to control yourself, you're able to say, okay, I can control the things in my life better. And I start getting mastery of myself. The hardest thing to do, my friends, is control those things within you. Your emotions, your energy, things like that. If you can control your energy, well, that's the start. Because once the energy is controlled, then that will lead to other types of things that are stronger than that. And that's where you have to kind of look at and focus in. Okay? So I hope this was some beneficial, my friends. And I hope you guys have a great morning and a great day. And we will talk again soon. So for January 10th, 2020, have a great morning, Warriors, and battle on.